All right, mic on. Me sitting here. Let's see what's happening. So, what I got going on. Let's see if this is up first. Are you up? Said I am. All right. It's gone. So what am I going to do? We've had some developments. I've had some time today to tinker and draw and tinker. And let me go ahead and pull up the iPad first, because that's probably the most interesting thing. So what I did, you see what had happened was I started tinkering with skills and character sheet. So when I left off earlier, I didn't know yet what I wanted to do in terms of skills for this class. I know. Hello, Shane. Again, I am just tinkering away. And so I thought I'd hang out a little bit while doing this. I'm going to be doing this a lot more lately or in the future. All right, here we go. So what you can see here, this is my iPad. I started thinking about what are the skills I want to have. And I whittled it down to 3. This is a potential layout, right? So if you'd seen before, this is kind of fun that I actually get to hold my iPad like this. If you'd seen before, there was this sort of design. You can probably see some of my kids' art. There was this design, right? And everything was sort of organized more by the target number that a skill was going to hit, right? So you can see the target numbers are off to the left, and then you have the degree of potency or whatever you want to call it for the skills, like how good you are at them. And then you would have the dice and the effort and all that kind of stuff. Well, I like this. To me, this makes sense to kind of visualize, but finding skills, I was thinking about it. And in terms of finding skills and what's the language I want to use as a GM, I want to say things like make a dex check, I use those words, right? I've had those words in my lexicon for forever, so I want to use them. And so that brought us to this. And so this is more in line with the concept of we've got a lot of skills associated with actual attributes. And then you would have the TN here. Let me actually get my little pin out. I've realized why my pin wasn't working earlier. The little tip, unfortunately, was unscrewed. Isn't that fun? So here's your target number, right? So when you have when you're making your character, you would, I want this to be thicker. That's way too big. That's not bad. Let's find a studio pen. That's nice. A little bigger. Perfect. All right. So let's delete all of this because it looks like trash now. Okay. So your target's number there. So if you had 2 in strength, right? And you've got 1 in dex. I'm just making this up. This might not, gel. Necessarily. Charisma. Yes, sir. So this might not how it ends up looking. But let's just say this is this person's stats. Right? Well, all of your target numbers for like general strength is probably closer to that 19, right? I don't know if that's accurate, but something to that effect, right? I lost my pen, right? Something like that. Maybe it's a little lower, but who knows? But you can actually technically do straight strength checks, right? So that's a thing. But you're going to have your athletics, and if you said that your athletics is technically masterful, right? And you go through as it's going through the process of how to determine these things, well, maybe that's an 11, right? And then your forge or your might, maybe that's like a 13. And then down here, your ability to move, which is sort of like acrobatics or things like that. Maybe that's a 15. Who knows? But you've got your target numbers here. And then over here, you're going to have your modifiers, right? So I've got, wait, I don't want that one there. I've got +3 to my athletics, maybe, right? Because maybe I bumped it. But then down at the bottom, we have combat. I put these separately, even though they're going to be influenced that, right? This is still strength-based. This is dex-based. Ranged. I'm taking a page out of Knave and I'm making it whiz-based because I think it's that perception and noticing and being able to, aware of the wind, all that kind of stuff. Channeling is charisma, and then weave is intelligence, right? So there probably needs some of those little things in there. But that makes up a portion of your character sheet. And then over here, you're probably going to have your momentum pools somewhere. And then over here, you're going to have your name and background and your bond. And then you probably got some like, oh, wait a minute. I forgot. We've got to have our defenses here. So maybe defense is now here because they're based on, we're going to have to move charisma up. So this is good for me to kind of do this because what I'm going to need, is that technically strength and dex together equals body, right? Constitution and charisma together would be spirit. So I'll probably just move intellect here and switch int and con. So then we'll have our defenses right here, right in line here, which would be nice. Okay. And then down here is probably like inventory and gear and all that kind of stuff. We'll have to figure out what else is needed. Oh, crap. Powers, right? Because this is going to be a playbook, I'm going to have to figure out maybe... Oh, body, mind, and soul. That's right, buddy. We're going straight body, mind, and soul. Maybe... Let's find out. Maybe the pools... a momentum up here. Maybe I can jam them in a little bit. And then you've got all your powers here, which would be your different building blocks we talked about, right? You've got stamina building blocks. You've got power building blocks. And then you have limitations. And then down here, you're going to have weapon and equipment. And all your little gear slots. Doot, doot, doot. Okay. I think that could work. Space-wise, man, I made a hot mess of this. I'm just going to blank that out because I just need to reference that later. But I think this looks pretty solid, right? I think that looks pretty sweet. And so we'll see where that goes. Other things. Dun, 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 dun. So this was a... this might be a short stream. I'm coming in hot and then completely disappearing. That's how I roll. I also have kids, so you never know what's going to happen. If you have this link, once I don't know if this is in the description. Of my last live, this was in the description that you could get to this page on Notion. I don't know if you can now. But if you need to, just go look at the other live. The two of you. And then down here, let's sneak down. I started messing with... here's a little screenshot of that. Isn't that nice? A little screenshot. And this was my descriptions, ranged, justifying why those were going to be those. Here, the archetypes. I started listing out some of the archetypes I like. I realized I have a problem. That I have an archetype that I play, which is usually like melee and sort of stoic. Little comic relief here and there. But because I realized I was writing all these in, and a lot of these, the endure skill was kind of high. So if you click on all of these, you're going to find that each one of these has all of the skills kind of listed out underneath it. And I kind of just really quick ordered it in what I think would be the order of importance of those skills for that person. But I could be wrong. I would love to know anyone else's thoughts on some of these. Also, are there some archetypes that you like to play that are not listed? And are some of these like, multiple archetypes? Like, can they be split up a little bit, right? Can you have the innocent, pure-hearted person and the heart and the conscience kind of be separated? Don't we? I know. It's true. I need some extreme inputs in my life. Big time. So this means I still have to figure out this now. So let's for those that are now joining, and maybe didn't see the last video, I'm kind of homebrewing this sort of Frankensteining sort of game. Here are a bunch of the influences. Lots of fabulous games. I love them all. That's why they're influencing it. And when I mean influence, I mean heavily influencing, like literally taking portions of it, because this is kind of like a homebrewing, right? And we all influence each other. And so half of it's a rollover game, right? And then half of it's got these effort dice, like, so this is like Crown and Skull, Vagabondy, Dragonbane. And then the effort die is very much ICRPG, right? I'm using momentum from my system, from Scattered Isles, which I love. It takes away the mathy math of hitting peeps, or getting hit. I'm sorry. The mathy math of getting hit. You're still doing math when you're hitting peeps. Well, I am. I'm the GM. Initiative, not sure yet. Actions, not sure yet, because the powers are going to be so juicy in terms of you might not need a ton of different actions, because all of this might be added into the powers and sort of those building blocks. Conditions, not relevant. Attributes, I'm going with the classic 6 because I like to say them all the time, right? Those are the words I say most often because I've said them so much that to me it makes it easier. Typical kin ancestry for now, but there'll be building blocks for whatever else you want. Shout out to, I think it was John who was in the first podcast who said constructs. I like constructs. They're in, right? Classes, we haven't figured that out yet, what kind of classes. And then we're tinkering with this skill list, right? So the idea is that just like ICRPG, you create your character, you've got these 6 stats, you choose your ancestry, and that ancestry is going to give you some pluses to certain attributes and to certain skills potentially. Those attributes are going to influence your skills naturally. Like, so if you've got 2 in, this is like a 6-point spread. Hot take, initiative overrated. Whoever acts when they swap sides. So that's what I put here. When I agree. So I have here like round the table monster in the middle, sort of that just classic, like who cares? Like we're just going around the table. Or that sort of draw steal zipper initiative. Whoever acts then swap sides. Yeah, that's that's kind of like that draw steal zipper initiative. I like that. I like all that stuff. To be honest, I probably would switch initiatives on my players all the damn time. I'd probably be like, hey, guess what? This encounter requires this type of initiative. This encounter is this type of initiative. As long as it's simple and quick, not the rolling type, But I would just kind of dictate it a little bit. All right, so you got your attributes. You choose your attributes by distributing these 6 points. Can't have more than 3 in one attribute. And you're going to have your kin is going to also influence that. Then you get down to class, probably influences it some. Class is going to have some influence on your skills, which ones you're going to take and be naturally good at. Your skills are going to have this sort of TN, which is how good you are at it, right? So if you are masterful at it, then that means that your rollover is an 11. So if I'm masterful at move, right? So acrobatics, getting places, that would be an 11 right there. And then I would also have an effort die associated with it. But that's different how you determine that. And then I've got my modifiers. So my modifiers would be my dexterity modifier. And then also if during the leveling process, I added more effort to it. And that's how you get it. And so in essence, you're going to be rolling 2 dice, D20 and some sort of effort. You're rolling over your TN. You're adding your effort to whatever you're trying to accomplish. Your other skills, instead of you having to choose every skill and figuring out which one is best and etc., the idea being that your class is going to give you some choices, right? And then your archetype is going to have an order of these, right? And so like this would be technically masterful, and then this would be excellent, etc., etc. I think that's it. I think that was the major breakthrough for me, and I wanted to show off that character sheet, mainly because I want to get people's thoughts on that, right? People's thoughts on how does this look? Do they like the way it looks? Do they think that it's, intuitive as much as they can, right? And hopefully you go to this page and you check it out. You get an idea of what's here. Read some of the stuff I've written in here. I'm trying to think if there's anything. I got to work on these powers. So I think my next assignment for myself is to sit down and do playtest swap. Oh yeah, let's do it, dude. Jordan, what's your schedule look like this week? I'm totally down with that. The only thing, dude, is that I have to give these powers. So tell me that. I'll tell you this. You tell me, Jordan. I'm putting you right on the spot. You tell me what type of class you'd want. Right? I'm at this concept right now where I don't know if I want a full class list or I want these sort of defined roles, because to me, there are certain classes that kind of meld a little bit in my brain. Like I play a monk and a fighter almost the same way, right? You could make a case that obviously the monk is more resilient, supposed to be like with their soul, but I kind of play them both similarly. So I don't know what I'm going to do here yet. 12 classes is kind of classic, and people probably gravitate towards it. But I don't know what I'm going to do here 100%. You tell me, Jordan, what type of class you'd be into, and I'll build powers for it, because that's the next thing I need to do. I need to build these little building blocks, right? What's the passive ability for it? What are the class blocks? What are the power blocks? What are the stamina blocks? And what are the limitations to make it fun, fast, and exciting? You can just hit me up on Discord. Oh, or you can do it in design intent principles. Design intent principles, right? I agree with you, but at this point in time, I'm fast and loose, right? We're trying to. I'm letting it be dictated by friends and family, right? I think this is more of this isn't a setting. This is much more of a toolkit, right? I think this game is going to be much more of a toolkit that's going to be fun. You do whatever you want with it, sort of thing. I think that the momentum system lends itself to Fast and Furious, pulpy in that way. But we'll see. Skill monkey support phase. You got it. I will make a skill monkey. I will make a skill monkey and a support class. I'll do the trio. I'll work on the holy trinity of sort of like, I will make a fighter-esque, a rogue-esque, a wizard-esque, and a priest. I'll just start there. They'll be very, I don't want to say generic, but traditional. And then I might start splitting that up as I go. So that's probably a good thought. So I might not have the like barbarian-esque. I might try and make this as clean of a fighter as sort of I can. All right. I came in hot, came in fast. 18-minute stream. This is probably not the best format for YouTube. Not gonna lie, but I'm kind of sick of making videos. I need to do more long format streams. I did one this morning, but who the hell is going to be watching YouTube streaming at like 8:45, which is when I got on? But that's when I wanted to get on. Luckily, it saves, so you can always go check that out. If this wets your whistle and you're curious as to what the hell's going on in the life of J-Face, I was on earlier, and I'll probably be on later.